All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Eurofleets webinar, how to write a proposal for the ship time and marine equipment application program. My name is Annelies Strobel. I'm running the Eurofleets Plus Call Management and Evaluation Office at the Alfred Wegener Institute in Germany. Just for your information, this webinar will be available at the Eurofleets Plus webpage afterwards. If you have any questions during the webinar, just write them in the chat and we can have a look after the presentation and try to answer your questions. I would like to start with a brief overview of the access programs which are offered by Eurofleets Plus. First, it's the ship time and marine equipment application, which provides you with access to vessels and or marine equipment through a classical call for proposals, which means that the call will be running open for 3 months and then being closed. And we will be launching a minimum of 2 calls, first with the ocean-going vessels and the second with the smaller regional seas vessels. The second access program that we are offering is the Co-Principal Investigator program, which is specifically aimed at researchers who have no experience in PIing a research cruise. In this program, they can implement their own research together with an already scheduled sea cruise. This will provide the researchers with only 2 or 3 days of access to the Eurofleets Plus research cruise. This will be a running call, which means it will be continuously open for submissions of proposals until early 2022. And then we have the Remote Transnational Access Program, which provides you with remote access to samples or data from an Eurofleets Plus vessel. And this will also be a running call. But this webinar will only focus on the sea program. The calls for proposals, which are scheduled for the 26th of June. This one is already open and will close at the 27th of September. And the second call in the sea program is the regional call with the more regional going vessels. This will open at the 25th of November this year and close at the 28th of February next year. In total, we will offer you access to 27 different research vessels from Europe and overseas and 13 pieces of marine equipment to cover the following geographic areas: the Arctic Ocean, the Atlantic, the North Atlantic Ocean. We have some vessels in the Baltic Sea, North Sea, Mediterranean, the Black Sea, the Northwest Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And to have a closer look at all the vessels, please go to Eurofleets webpage under Access. Just another brief overview which vessels are currently offered. We are offering 14 different vessels, mostly the ocean-going ones, as I said, in the Arctic, the North Atlantic, but also Western Atlantic, also in the Pacific. And in the regional call, we will offer all the other vessels available in Eurofleets Plus. This will be 13 vessels, more regional ones, mostly operating in the Mediterranean, the Baltic and North Sea. At the moment, we are also offering access to 7 ROVs, 2 AUVs and a telepresence unit. And in the second sea call, the regional one, we will offer access to 3 AUVs. Now, we come to the eligibility criteria and the question, am I eligible to apply to any of these vessels in the sea program? First, you have to check if you as a principal investigator are based at an eligible nation or institution to receive funding through this call. It is important that the PI and the majority of users who apply for a vessel or equipment must work in a country other than the country where the infrastructure is based. And also this includes that also the proposal partners must fulfill the eligibility criteria, so be from another country than the requested infrastructure. And also very important is international cooperation, so proposals must involve at least 3 partners from 3 different countries. And you also have to take care that the cruise length of your proposal is not exceeding the numbers of days offered, unless you want to charter some additional days that you have to agree with the vessel operator. Next thing, which is new to Eurofleets Plus, is that you have to submit a data management plan, and there's also a webinar on how to write a data management plan available at the YouTube channel of Eurofleets Plus, and you can find it at the Eurofleets Plus webpage as well. Very important as well is that your proposal is containing an advanced training and educational program for scientists or technicians or students. And we would like to ask you to state this clearly in your proposal, and also to mention if you're willing to offer some spare berth for students for training activities. And the last point is that is the outreach aspect. So you must be willing and entitled to disseminate your knowledge through our webpage unless and publicate your data unless you're working for small and medium-sized enterprises. The call documents for applying to the C program you find at the Eurofleets webpage under Access. For example, for the C call Oceans, you find there all the necessary documents, which are the guidelines for applicants that guide you through the application process. Then you find there Part B, which is the proposal template, and also very important, the online submission guidelines, which will guide you through the online submission system. I will come to that later. So now we directly jump into the proposal preparation. When writing a proposal, you have to first fill in part A, which is general project information and application details. These can be found, this is done by this online submission system. There you have to provide general and logistical project information, information about you as the principal investigator, and about the project partners. And part B of your proposal is the scientific project description, so which is the proposal as such. Now we come in more detail to this part B, the proposal or scientific project description, and please have a look at this template that we provide at the web page. There's a step-by-step guidance which aspects you have to fulfill, which points to comment on. So first, you have to describe the scientific objectives of your proposed work, which is a general scientific background. You provide the current state of scientific knowledge directly linked to your proposed work, also including citations, and also describing your own preliminary work in the field. In the second part, you specify the aims of your project, and you clearly describe the scientific objectives to be achieved within the project and highlights its innovative aspects. And please clearly state what is the added value to the present state of knowledge, so what is new in your project, and what are the expected outputs and benefits and impacts of your research groups. And please also bear in mind the page limitation. Do not exceed 5 pages for both of these sections. In the second part of the proposal, part B, you provide an overview of the work program, so, which is a comprehensive description of the work to be carried out on board. This includes a detailed map of the investigation area, a list of stations, including positions, also the transects, and also a realistic timetable of your activities that you are planning to perform on board, as well as the station time. And also for this section, bear in mind the page limitations, which are given in the guidelines. So this is an example how such an overview of the work program can look like. So you can provide an overview of the activity then that you are planning to do, including the transit from the port of departure to your station, then the details on your position, and all the operations you want to perform on site. And this you provide for each station. Then you should also provide some information about the principal investigator and the user group that is going on board. So this should be a description of the expertise and the tracking record of the principal investigator and its partners, of the onboard participants. And below you see a table how this can look like. You just provide an overview of all the people attending and the assigned tasks. And be careful to match the expertise of your team related to the objectives of your work that you are planning to carry out. And you also provide in a separate table information on the remote participants, so these ones who are not going on board of the research and joining the research crews. Then you should also provide information about the technical capability to carry out research crews and the data analysis. So you have to state what technical equipment is necessary to carry out your proposed work, give a detailed outline and a timeline how and when you will analyze your data and samples. Also mention if you have additional funding sources and how they will be used. And please describe if there is own equipment or funding that you want to use for your research crews. And also describe information how your data and knowledge gained through the crews will be disseminated and where you are planning to store the gathered data. And the fifth part of the project description is information about the national, international, and industrial collaboration. So please, if it applies, provide information how your proposed project is embedded into other larger projects or programs. And if it applies, describe how new user groups with limited access to marine infrastructures are integrated, and if applicable, provide information on collaboration with industry. Then a very important aspect is providing information on training of young scientists or technicians, how you're planning to train them before, during, or after your cruise, and if you want to devote spare berth to early career or scientists in a training role. And the last point, the outreach point, which activities are you planning to undertake to inform the general public about research groups? Then there should be, of course, also information about the budget. So provide a detailed and realistic overview of the expenses incurred in relation to traveling of all the cruise participants, and if it applies, shipment of your own equipment to your preferred port of mobilization and back to the port of demobilization. And please contact the vessel operators if you have some questions regarding these costs and shipment of equipment. Then I would also like to provide you some recommendations when when writing your proposal. So it is very important that you follow the instructions given in our guidelines for applicants and the proposal template. So please stick to the maximum number of pages, the font size, spacing, etc. So to all the formatting. Check that the vessel description and included equipment is mentioned, and if it's fitting your needs. Please ask. If you have questions, drop us an email to eurofleetsplus@abi.de, and keep in mind the evaluation criteria. Please read them very carefully, that you fill and that all points that will be evaluated are addressed. You can also find the evaluation criteria at the website, and make sure that your work plan is feasible so that you're managing everything you are suggesting, and also consider that there could be bad weather, and it's good to have a plan B. And also, of course, respect the deadlines. So, okay, now we come to the online application system, where you have to provide part A and B of your proposal. So first, of course, you have to register to the proposal submission website. You find a link to it at the Eurofleets Plus webpage. This is the PT outline system. There you sign up, and then you can start putting in your data of part A of your proposal, which is the general information about your project, give a brief outline, and choose scientific disciplines. And please, you have to agree that that all the abstracts, etc., have to be can be published on the Eurofleets Plus webpage. And also, you have to agree or provide information about data publishing. Then in this part, you also provide information about all the logistics. So here you can choose if you want to apply for a research vessel or marine equipment or both. You choose it from the drop-down menu. You specify in which year you want to aim to complete. You aim to complete your cruise, and in which season, and also if you wish to apply for several research cruises in consecutive years, the working area, number of cruise participants, etc. And you also provide, in the end, a detailed financial information about your estimated travel and shipment budget. And just to mention, we have added another piece of marine equipment to the present call, the Oceans call, which is open, which is the ROV Ariane. This you cannot choose from the drop-down menu of the marine equipment. So if you want to apply for ROV Ariane, you have to please state this in the field highlighted in this field. In case you request multiple research vessel, marine equipment, so on, you just state that you wish to apply for ROV Ariane. Then we continue with the proposal information, part A. Here you provide information about you as a principal investigator, and also about all the project partners. So you can add as many project partners as you wish. And after providing all this background or detailed information, we come to the proposal as such. Here you have to upload the part B, which we were talking about, the scientific project description. You have to make a PDF out of it, which must be 5 megabytes maximum. There's also some information about the formatting provided at this page. You have another document. You upload one PDF with all the CVs of the PI and the project team, and for the CVs we also provide a template at the Eurofleets Plus webpage. Please use that template and do not exceed 1 page for each boost participant. And here you also upload the PDF of the preliminary data management plan. And after you've submitted all these documents, you will receive an automatically generated proposal summary sheet, which you can download. And as soon as you click submit your proposal, you will receive a confirmation email on a successful submission. And just to give you an overview on the submitted proposals that we received in the previous Eurofleets program, Eurofleets 2. In that program, we had 5 different calls, 3 regional, a support integration, and an embarked equipment call. In total, we received 50 proposals from the following main disciplines. We had quite a few proposals from physical oceanography, plenty of geology, and some fisheries and biology research. And the nationalities of the PIs were from, we had overall 50 PIs from 17 different nations. The majority came from Italy, UK, and France, and Spain being the 4th. And we had a quite good funding rate. So of the 50 submitted proposals, we could grant 24 cruises. So we have a funding rate of 48%, and we could fund 206 days of ship time via Eurofleets Plus. So this was just to encourage you to submit some proposals to the SEA program, either the Oceans Call or the Regional Call. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And if you want to have some more information about how to write a proposal as such, there's a general introduction given in a webinar held by ARISE, which is about access provision for research icebreakers. You can find it at the ARISE webpage under training. If you want to have some more information about how to write a successful proposal. And now I would like to hand over to my colleague, Irmis, who will continue and give you some more details on what to consider when writing a proposal for the SEA program. Thank you.
Okay, hello to everyone. Can you hear me? I hope so. I will present something specific about this proposal writing, and I will deal with a cruise program part, and then also with the dissemination and training issues. My name is Urmas Lips and I am working at the Tallinn University of Technology at the Department of Marine Systems. And these are the two topics that I will describe a bit here. And the first one is survey design and planning. It's actually the part that was already used during Eurofleets 1 and Eurofleets 2. And I show something from which was prepared from Marine Institute and from EPEF. And why I'm doing so, I also suggest you, if you write the proposal, that you go and see what are the evaluation criteria. And you can see that, for example, for the quality of the work program, it's the percentage, how much grades you can get here is 25%. And the questions also that are asked from the reviewers are there, that you can read. That is the work plan adequate? Is it clearly described? And so on and so on. And also that you have to be very specific in the what kind of transects or stations you will have, and also you have to be clear in time that you plan to use. And for that, I have some suggestions that how to do that. And also that we have many vessels, as you heard, that you can apply for. And it's always very good that you read that what are the capabilities of different vessels, because the one question is there that does the proposed process maximize the use of the research vessel? It means that if you have a simple program, then you use a smaller or some ordinary vessel, and if you have a very complicated one, then and you have many tasks, then most probably you will use a bigger one. But you have all this information at the Eurofleets website. Okay, and about the survey design and planning, it's mostly for those who are not very experienced in planning a cruise. Then we have very easy questions here that you first have to take into account. Why? You have to justify what are this survey, what data sets you will collect, then where, when, and how. That you have, as also said, already said, that you have to have the plot of survey site, and also you have to consider the season and depending of your research question, of course. And this season has to be matched with the vessel schedules, that some vessels are not available for the whole year around. You have to check that also. And also that you should have, you need to have very detailed plan of transects or stations and activities. How to design this survey plan? You have to have the objectives, you have to describe what data and results you will have, but also always you should mention that what data sets already are available from that area or for that subject. And then again, this value for money, that you have to use to propose a vessel which is most suitable for your work. And what means the SMART survey plan? It is specific objectives, measurable progress, attainable goals, relevant tasks, and timely delivery. It means that if you describe the research plan, I don't think that you have to say there that you will solve all scientific questions in that particular area. Those goals have to be realistic, and the task to achieve those goals have to be relevant, and also that you have to show that you can deliver these results in time. It means that if you just collect very many sediment samples and you do not have time to analyze them during next 1 or 2 years, then I guess it's not very good. And these are the examples of the maps. You have to specify the cruise track. You can have continuous data acquisition. It means transects. You can have stations. You can plot them, and also that you have to take into account what is the area, and in many cases the time that you need for working depends on the sea depth. But also, as was also mentioned, that you have to check whether your plan is feasible, because all vessels have specified days that they are available. For example, if you take Baltic Sea and we have here vessel Aranda available, it is available for 8 days. That you have to then have a plan that you will do your work during those 8 days. Also, this your research could be just one cruise, but it could be that you need more cruises, and you just already, or you may have already other cruises available, but or ships available for other cruises. But if you want to have some additional work, additional cruise, then it could be this cruise that you apply could be a part of a series of cruises. And when to work, then it's always depends on the weather, it depends on the season, and also it depends on previous service. But I will show you also the timetable. In many cases, it also depends on the permissions, that it takes time to get permits for working in some areas. And this is a very rough timetable that we are showing usually, that if you plan a cruise, then you submit the proposal usually 1 or 2 years prior to the cruise. Of course, in regional seas and smaller vessels, it's easier, but for the ocean vessels, it always takes quite a long time. And after that, you will detail your work plan. In our case, we have almost half a year for evaluation, and then it would be good to have at least half a year before your cruise that you know that the ship time is allocated for you. But then you start working with ship operators, and there are many questions that you have to solve. And one is, for example, for diplomatic clearances, that it's a general rule that you have, or ship owner has to apply for permits in EEZ or territorial waters of other countries at least 6 months prior to the cruise. And also you have to have all certificates available, and I will show it also that what I mean with that. And then after the cruise, or first for the mobilization and demobilization, usually we in Eurofleets we use 1 day, but it depends on the vessels and the work that you will have. Then the post-cruise, we need that the cruise summary report is submitted about or during 2 weeks after the cruise, and the cruise report 2 months after the cruise. Okay, and what vessel to choose? As I said, we have many of them, and you have to go them through. First, of course, for you, it's important that the vessel is in the area that you are targeting. But there are many vessels that are coastal vessels or offshore capabilities, and also that they have appropriate licenses. For example, if you would like to work in ice conditions, or to certify safety equipment, communication, so on. But usually all this is available, but you have to check it with the operators. And also that depending on how many scientists you need on board and accommodation, that what is. And many vessels work nowadays 24 hours per day, but there are also some which work only 20 hours per day. You have to check for that. And also, again, this value for money, that you should have the most appropriate vessel for your work. Okay, I hope that the crew is available. But what is important here is that your personnel, scientific, should be also capable to work either 12 or 24 hours per day. And also, if you have a very specific equipment, then you need someone else, not a part of the project, but you have to find it out that whether you need someone. And in different countries are different rules. You have to check that as well, that whether you need a medical certification, a sea survival course certificate, and so on. For example, in Estonia, scientists are passengers from Ireland. They are members of the crew, and they have to have certain certificates. You have to check it in depending on the vessel that you will apply for. Then you have, of course, to have a list of equipment. But what is important that if you have there some specific or heavy equipment, then you always have to check for power requirements, storage space, and also the computer facilities, and also the insurance questions. Also that you have to have this list of your consumables, and it's very, very good if you have already everything labeled before the cruise. And also that you have enough space for samples, and you have enough space for data storage and so on. When you estimate the time for your cruise, then you have to have basic information from the ship operators. What are the cruising speeds, then the weather conditions, time needed for each type of operation. It can depend on the water depth, and also that sometimes people do not take into account that the vessel can't stop immediately, and you still have to have some time at the station to prepare, for example, for coring or so on. And usually we have three types of operation: en route operations, which will not cause any delay, then reduced speed operations, and then station operations. And the reduced speed operations, usually we have, for example, for echo sounding. And if you have if the vessel has a multi-beam, you also have to check that what is the operating speed of that echo sounder. And it also could depend on the sea conditions and what kind of maps you then would like to have and what is the resolution and so on. You have to take all this into account. And station operations, it's not so complicated, I guess, but you have to calculate in your time plan that if you have a water depth about 3,000 meters, for example, then to go down and come up with your measurement and sampling device, it would take 1.6 hours. But you have to check where all these operations depend on the water depth. And also that coring, it's not so, but I hope those who are familiar with this kind of work, they can calculate the right time. But sometimes I have seen the proposals where this is not taken into account, that you have to count also for some time before the coring and after the coring, not just the coring operation itself. And here you can find afterwards, if you read this through, some suggestions for that. And the last thing is that you also have to take into account the regulations in the regional seas, for example, for horsepower or HELCOM and so on. What are the proper procedures that if you work, for example, with some benthic for some bento studies, that what are the rules and requirements. That was for this survey design and planning, and now I will show you just a few examples, since I have been in scientific evaluation team for Eurofleets 1 and Eurofleets 2, and also will be in this Eurofleets Plus. Then some examples about the training and dissemination. And you also can see in that evaluation criteria that this part is gives you 15% of the grades. And also the questions are here. Are the dissemination activities addressing the general public? Are early career scientists and students at PhD level involved? Are birds devoted to early career scientists in training role, and so on? These are the main questions. And some examples. This you can read it through, but if you just say that you will have 1 or 2 students and they will do this basic work and will be trained, then usually it's not enough. This is a better example, and the applicant they stated here that they will have part of the work will be done by master students, and also postdocs and doctoral students will be involved, and they also specify that they will come from the teams involved, and that each team will take at least 2 master students or 1 doctoral student. The only question the reviewer asked that it was not clear how the students will be selected, but yes. Then the other one, which is quite long explanation, and it is quite okay and quite good description of the training issues. But if you go through, you see that it was not specified that what are the topics that the students will be trained and who will do that. It should be also, if you use this kind of space, then you should also mention that. And this is one excellent example of training issues. And you can see here that what are the people have explained it very in detail, that what kind of issues will be dealt with, what are the training issues, and also that they offer additional young science for birds for additional young scientists, and also that the Eurofleets that these places can be or can be applied via Eurofleets. But you can read them later on. And about the dissemination, this is for this general public. What usually you have to plan that how you will give forward this information about the cruise to the general public. And of course, Eurofleets Plus is very much interested that that this is done, because it's European money, and the cruise is funded through that, and it's always very good that to have also information available for general public. And these are the means: these websites, blogs, pictures and movies, some science days at the universities. Then here is one good example where also they have planned that one place that on board will be for a journalist, and they plan what kind of activities are there, what she or he will do, and also that they will go and explain it to the primary school or secondary science classes. And then also an excellent one, of course, the main results, I guess, of the these cruises will be for the research community, but here you can find some means that have been planned for how to disseminate the results also to the general public. And it's also good to have links to the Eurofleets Plus website and so on. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Omas. I've seen that there are 3 questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. So one question was about the cruises in the Mediterranean, and what is the difference between the oceans and regional call? So I can answer this question briefly. So there is an overview of which vessels are offered in the Oceans Call and which ones are offered in regional call. You can find them at the Eurofleets webpage under the access programs. There you can see which ones are in the oceans and which ones are in the regional call. Indeed, in the regional call, we're offering more Mediterranean vessels than in the Oceans Call. But of course, you can apply for both and always for the Mediterranean calls. So this should be quite easy. And there is another question: if all partners must not be from the country of the required equipment or only DPI. So in fact, it is that the cruise PI and the majorities of users must be from another country than the requested equipment. So it must be the cruise PI and the majority of people going on board must be from another country. But still there can be some partners who are from the same country than the requested infrastructure. And another question was if writing an oceans proposal, can one select 2 years, if you don't mind, either going 2020 or 21? And I can just answer yes, you can even apply for all years. You can apply and specify what would be, for example, your preferred, but then we can negotiate, in case you get funded, we can negotiate afterwards when to implement your cruise. But you should check for your desired research vessel when they are going and if they are available all the years before, of course. And then there's another question which popped up regarding the budget. If traveling will be funded, yes, the traveling of the team will be included as well. Of course, there's always a limit to travel funding, but usually it is. And if it's possible to have 2 PIs, and we have just the online, just one actual cruise PI. So the online submission system where you have to apply only allows you to have one PI, and the other ones are crew project partners, but you can have one people being PI of your project and another people being, for example, the chief scientist going on board of a vessel. But as a PI, you can actually just have one. So that would be, yeah, my answers. And let me see if there are any more. Yeah, there's any more questions.
Yes, maybe I can answer that. It is possible to exchange a buoy mooring among the work to do during a cruise. Yes, it's already. It was already in Eurofleets 1 or 2. I don't remember that you can plan, for example, that you will deploy the mooring during that cruise. You apply from Eurofleets Plus, but then you have another cruise which will then recover it, or even during the Eurofleets cruise, you can deploy one or recover one and deploy the other one. It can be part of the work easily.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. So there's another question: if it's possible that a North Atlantic vessel can operate in the Mediterranean. You have to check for the vessel where it's operating. So at each vessel description page, there is the areas where it is operating and where it is offered. So if it's not offered for the Mediterranean, then it probably won't go there. You could ask the vessel operator if they would be willing to go there, but if usually they already specified where they're, which region they are offering for Eurofleets Plus. But there's also several vessels in the Mediterranean offered, so maybe you want to go for this one of these ones. Okay, I think there are no more questions. Okay, there's one. Is it possible to apply for 2 legs? Yes, we are in this Eurofleets Plus. We are very open to any suggestions. So in the online submission system, you can really specify your wishes. You can have the same, for example, you can apply for the same vessel to go in consecutive years or in follow-up cruises. So really, we try to be as flexible as possible. You just specify your wishes, and then if your proposal is ranked as excellent, it gets funded. We have to negotiate with the vessel operator when to implement your cruise. Of course, you cannot exceed the days offered in total for research vessels. So these are also specified on the vessel profiles at the web page.
Annelie, there's some.
Yes.
There's some questions in chat also.
Okay, I will have a look. Yeah, there is. Well, let me see. There's one question. Okay, I will just go down here. So, if you can apply for Oceans program and afterwards for regional program, yes, of course, that's possible. You can even submit several proposals. And then we had PIs. What is the budget available for this call, and what is the maximum budget per proposal? Maybe Niam, if you're there, you can maybe answer this one.
I don't think that's not the way the call is structured. So it's just to put in your proposal and we can look at it from there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And then there's another question open. Are there any restrictions for nationalities to use a vessel? For example, a Spanish group can use a Spanish or German vessel. So we are very open for European and also international applicants. So, but there's still this restriction that the cruise PI and the majority of users must not be from the same country than the infrastructure you are applying for. So a Spanish PI cannot apply for a Spanish research vessel, but a Spanish group can apply for a German research vessel. So really you can pick any research vessel you like, but must, as a PI, but must not be from your own country. Okay. If there are no more questions, I think we can stop this webinar now. Thank you all for attending. It was my pleasure. Also, thanks a lot for all the questions. If you have any more questions, just drop us an email. We are happy to discuss, and wish you good luck for your proposals.
Okay, thank you from my side as well. And I hope we will see many applications for this ocean call and then also for regional call. And depending on the outcome of those calls, we will decide later whether there will be a third call or not. Okay, thank you.